Welcome to the Cannabis Legal Group videocast. We help people and companies in the cannabis industry by delivering expert application, real estate, and corporate legal services. You can find more about what we do at cannabis-legal-group.com. If you're interested in information about selling a cannabis business, we have a free report which you can download by using the QR code that's on the screen right now. It's entitled Everything You Need to Know About Selling Your Cannabis Licensed Business. Again, you can get that report by using the QR code on the screen. And in this video, I'd like to talk about valuation, otherwise known as how much is my business worth. There are a number of ways to do valuation. I'll talk about the three main ways to do them. One is the income approach. Secondly, there is the market approach. And thirdly, there is the asset approach. The income approach seeks to identify the historical value of the income that a potential business or a business that has been generating income, how much money has it made, and then trying to forecast in the future or project in the future how much money can it make and will it make in the future. Now, of course, this requires a business that has been making money in the past and also requires an environment in which that we can predictably identify how much money is going to be making in the future. That sometimes becomes problematic if we believe that there's going to be additional competitive forces that are added to perhaps a geographic region that may interfere with an understanding of how much money a particular business can make. Obviously, there are a lot of different things that can contribute to and cause variability in the amount of money and income that a particular business can make. But the less that we can cut down, or the more that we can cut down on that variability, the more likely that we can use this as a reliable means to identify the value of a business. Now, certainly we can use simply the income over the next year and perhaps use a multiple of that income in order to understand the value. See, because when we're projecting the amount of money that's being made and then discounting it back, when somebody's buying the business, then they can have a reasonably reliable amount of money that they know that they can make in the future. But sometimes we add a multiple to that given a number of other things that may be valuable to the business, like the location of a business or its management, or a number of other intangible things that can be related to the value of a business that aren't necessarily related to other more tangible things like its property. So sometimes we will add a multiple of 2 times or 4 times. If a business is making $2 million a year, we may multiply it by 2 times given these other factors and make it a $4 million business. Ultimately, though, because there's a number of things that are so numerous that I can't get into the entirety of it, it is a very valid means under certain circumstances to determine the value of a business simply by looking at its projected future earning potential and discounting it back. The second most common valuation technique is the market technique or market analysis technique. It's very similar to what many people are familiar with when there is the buying and selling of in the residential real estate market. When you're going to sell your home, your residential home, a real estate agent is likely going to set the price based upon what similar homes in the immediate area have recently sold for. Because that's what real estate agents look at when determining, and that's what buyers are looking at when determining what the value is. Well, that same principle can be applied really to anything, but in particular, it can be very useful in the commercial real estate market and the commercial business market when buying and selling businesses. But of course, it is best used when that information is readily available. Sometimes the sales of businesses that are nearby and that are similar in nature isn't regularly and publicly available. Oftentimes the real estate is publicly available, but the value of the business is not. So the market value approach can be very good when the information is available. If it's not available, then perhaps that approach may not be the best one. The third type of valuation approach that we use when we try to figure out what a business is worth is the asset approach. When looking at a company's balance sheet, for instance, we can see what their assets and liabilities are. Unfortunately, balance sheets are generally created by accountants, and they're using generally accepted accounting principles, which are not necessarily aligned with how we value a business. And so, for instance, they may not pick up certain things that do have value in a business. So, for instance, a labor force, a strong labor force, where a number of employees that have been there for a long time and know the industry well and know the company well and know its customers well, are not going to be picked up on a balance sheet. So, and they are an asset. And so an asset approach can be used reliably, but it's important that the company that is performing the valuation make sure that they're able to identify all of the valuable things and assets that a company may have that need to be taken into consideration into a balance sheet. Sometimes that is the best valuation when the company has a number of tangible assets like real estate. There's plenty of companies that have a large portfolio of real estate. And when there's a lot of things that can be easily valued individually, when we put together the balance sheet, then it's more of a reliable valuation technique. Nevertheless, the asset valuation technique can be a very reliable valuation technique to be used in order to be able to understand how much a business is worth. And quite frankly, sometimes we have to use a combination of these techniques, particularly in the cannabis industry, which is an industry that is very new. Transactions are not happening all the time like in the real estate market. The industry changes and the geographic makeup changes. The competitive landscape is changing so quickly. The market is so dynamic. It does require a combination of those approaches in order to be able to come up with a good valuation. Ultimately, a good valuation is one that is documented and that it is demonstrated to be reliable to the degree to which that a buyer would find it to be important and relevant to making that buying decision. Look out for our next video if you want to learn more about valuation or anything else as it relates to buying and selling a cannabis business, mergers and acquisitions, or anything related to the cannabis industry. You can go to our website, cannabis-legalgroup.com. My name is Barton Morris. Thank you for watching.